Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to get you quickly up to speed on important topics. Today, we're digging into a real tragedy of success, actually. It's the story of Leo and the Mountain Laurel Inn. A family business, 3 generations, right? And it got caught in this huge tourism collapse in its town between, 2028 and 2045?
That's right. And our goal here isn't just to tell a sad story. It's really to understand the system's failure behind it. We want to unpack how this whole economy, totally fixated on the idea of more just sheer growth, ended up, basically suffocating the very thing it depended on.
The mountains themselves?
Exactly. We're essentially watching a positive feedback loop just accelerate itself into oblivion.
It's wild because if you look back at, say, 2028, everything looked perfect. That America's Welcome At campaign, it was firing on all cylinders. You mentioned Leo's inn bookings were solid, like 18 months out. Those are definitely the golden years. The whole financial engine seemed perfectly designed for acceleration.
Well, and that initial mechanism is key, that reinforcing loop. It was simple, really. You have great experience. It draws in more tourists, high-value ones.
Which means more money.
Right, more revenue, which then allows for more investment back into the experience, maybe marketing too. It was this beautiful accelerating cycle. Boom times.
But that kind of acceleration, it can't last forever, can it? What happens when the sheer volume just overwhelms the place itself?
Well, that's exactly what happened. By around 2034, that engine hit a very hard wall.
Okay.
That's when the town's infrastructure, the sort of balancing mechanism, it just failed dramatically. Yeah. The inputs just swamped the capacity. We're talking things like 2-hour traffic jams just becoming standard to get into the valley.
2 hours.
Yeah. And wanting to visit the national park, you needed a reservation 6 months ahead. Plus, every summer, water rationing kicked in.
And on top of that physical strain, you mentioned a workforce problem.
Oh, absolutely. Complete workforce collapse. The local housing market just exploded. Prices went so high.
It priced out the workers they needed.
Exactly. The very people needed to run the hotels, the restaurants, the shops. They couldn't afford to live there anymore. Leo couldn't find experienced staff. Couldn't find any staff sometimes.
Okay, so you've got infrastructure strain and no staff. That must hit the customer experience hard.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Think about it. Travelers are paying top dollar going through all this hassle to get there.
Right.
Only to be met by, service staff who were completely overstretched, often inexperienced. The value proposition just tanked.
And the reviews reflected that.
Oh, yeah. Those online reviews became stinging. Things like, don't expect wilderness, expect Disneyland. That says it all, doesn't it? The perceived value just cratered.
Declining quality, the bad reviews. That must have been a huge warning sign. So why didn't the town council, the people with the data, react sooner? The system is visibly failing.
And that points right to the really catastrophic blind spot in these kinds of situations.
Okay.
The critical delay, the council, they were fixated on the metrics. Revenue was still way up 150% over the decade.
Right. Okay. So the money looked good?
The money looked great. But they completely failed to see, or maybe acknowledge, that reputation, how people perceive the value, lags years behind the actual on-the-ground quality.
So the money rolling in was from earlier bookings based on the old reputation.
Precisely. It blinded them to the collapse that was already baked in.
And that delay meant they were totally unprepared for the external shocks that finally sort of slammed the door shut around 2039.
Exactly. The first big hit was this devastating feature in a major European travel magazine. It went viral. Paradise Lost, the crowded canyons of America.
Ouch.
Yeah. It wasn't just one bad review. It was a massive reputation shock. It basically wiped out the perceived attractiveness of the place almost overnight internationally.
And then something else happened.
Right on its heels. Completely unrelated, but terrible timing. A new, much more restrictive visa and entry policy for the U.S.
Oh, man.
It slammed the brakes on whatever international tourism was left. And suddenly, that positive reinforcing cycle, it flipped.
Viciously into a negative spiral.
A brutal one. Fewer tourists meant collapsing revenue. Leo had to close that new wing he'd built, lay off staff. And that half-built luxury resort you mentioned at the edge of town, it just stayed there.
Yeah.
A concrete skeleton by 2045. A real monument to that misplaced optimism, maybe hubris.
So by 2045, the boom was well and truly over, the quiet returned.
But it was a hollow quiet.
Yeah. Leo walking down Main Street, silent. For sale. Signs everywhere. The job's gone, the young people gone. Just empty.
And the tragic part, the real irony you pointed out, his grandfather started the inn to share the peace of the mountain.
And here was Leo caught up in selling it, maximizing it until it was gone. It really is tragic. The synthesis is pretty clear. They forgot the core purpose. The grandfather knew the inn's job was sharing peace, preservation maybe, but the system's goal became explicit growth, just a number, a metric totally divorced from that core value. And the system destroyed itself pursuing that metric. So what's the takeaway here for you listening? When you're chasing any goal, building a business, planning a project, whatever it is, how often do we fall into that same trap, like that town council, failing to account for that critical delay between what we're doing now and the consequences down the road? Are we maybe, without realizing it, strangling our own golden goose? Something to think about until the next deep dive.